Hey guys, welcome back to the FACEIT Challenger Invitationals number 2. My name is Vince Metuz. This guy is James Stress O'Leary, and we are live into the picks and bans for game number 2 between Unicorns of Love and Gamers 2.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to this one quite a bit now. Now, we've seen Vardags come back into the AD carry role for I keep wanting to call them Cloud9. It's because they played Cloud9 last time I sat in this chair. But Unicorns of Love, Vardags is back in that AD carry position. So we'll see whether that does change the dynamic of this game just a little bit here. So picks and bans are coming out via Kassadin and Thresh. Nothing overly surprising here. Now, I wonder whether we'll see a Yasuo ban rather than letting it through till first pick.
It's possible, but I don't think Vivasachi had a strong enough performance to warrant the ban.
Yeah.
Unless it's banned by Unicorns of Love against the opposition.
That's what I'm kind of expecting to happen here. Pantheon banned out once again by Gamers 2. I'm kind of expecting a Yasuo ban here. It will let Elise through and Annie. So any of those three are potential options, but I feel like Yasuo is going to be a little bit more potent on Gamers 2 than it was on Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, but definitely agree with that. Last ban, Elise. And Morden did play a very strong Elise, so targeted ban there.
Okay, so there's a couple of options here. We've seen early preference put on Lulu in the mid lane. That's available. Yasuo is available. Annie is available. Even champions like Kayle are available. There's a couple of options here for first pick. I wonder whether there's going to be anything in particular. I mean, I'm looking, and apart from Yasuo, nothing's glaringly missing that hasn't been picked up already.
Yeah, it could very well be Yasuo, plus it's JWoww for its first pick.
Yeah.
So maybe he's going to Lulu.
Yeah,
that's the one we missed, Lulu.
Yeah, well, I kind of briefly mentioned it. I wasn't sure whether they'd pick it first. It is a high-profile pick, which now leaves Yasuo available. I think they're in a situation where Gamers 2 are kind of saying, we weren't too worried about Yasuo from top lane. We can play Trundle again and against it, and they know that JWoww can do very well in that situation. So I think here they're going to be against playing Yasuo or picking that up. Jax would be another JWoww champion.
It would. Do you think it's just a counter pick against JWoww? To say we just don't want you to play that champion?
I don't think JWoww would pick Jax if it was available for him either. I think right now, although it's a champion he really likes, I don't think it's one that he would prioritize higher than anything else.
Alrighty, well, we are going to find out what JWoww will be playing. Of course, it could potentially be Lulu top. I wouldn't expect that, but it's not out of question either.
It has been seen in LCS. It could still be support. I mean, we saw it in the last game, actually. Not as often played. Annie and Leona are available. They're the two here that I would expect to see picked up on either side. It's just a question now of are either team even going to pick Yasuo at this point? Because Lulu is already there as a very strong mid laner. It didn't work for Unicorns of Love in the previous game. Where do they go?
Well, they've gone for Lee Sin, and they have a couple more seconds to pick up their final champion in this round, and that's going to be Sivir. So Sivir, Lee Sin, Lulu. Interesting picks.
Yeah, I think in this set of circumstances, Gamers 2 don't want to commit to their solo laners yet.
Yeah.
I very much think that Lulu is going to be going to Ocelot, but they still have time to kind of bail out from that plan if it potentially is counterpick. Not that Lulu has any real counterpicks in lane. She's very, very strong, very versatile mid laner. It just leaves them with that extra option.
So they're hovering over the Jinx. Jinx is still top tier AD carry. It hasn't been seen as often from my perspective when I've been watching LCS and such.
Yeah, she's seen a little bit of a fall off. She's still very strong, but a lot of the AD carries recently, with the advent of Leona being brought back, Jinx is a little bit susceptible going against Leona and a couple of the CC heavy supports. That really, once your flash is burned, you're so vulnerable to any kind of engage. And Leona throws out engages so much. A very similar champion to that is Morgana, and that's what we're going to see picked up here.
So they're toying with the idea of Leona. Leona is a great counter against Jinx, because Jinx has no escapes. Leona just jumps on top of your face, and it's difficult to escape. But Morgana does a very good job of mitigating Leona's prowess in lane because of Black Shield.
Yeah.
They just give Jinx Black Shield, she's going to be fine. So I don't think they would lock in Leona. Wow. If they do go for Vel'Koz, then that's going to be Lulu support. More than
Or
likely.
top. I wouldn't expect Lulu top. But
Will they go for the Vel'Koz though?
I
I'm
don't
not
think
sold
so.
on
Oh,
it.
Kha'Zix is the champion that isn't banned
Yeah.
out. I forgot all about Kha'Zix. Okay, so if that locks, that's Kha'Zix top, Lulu jungle, Lulu mid, and Leona in the bottom lane. I highly, it's JWoww. It's Kha'Zix.
JWoww
100%.
written all over it. Yeah. He's actually known for his Kazakh
Yeah,
play.
I can't believe I forgot about that. It was just the fact that the bands looked so similar, but at least got banned out this time. Yeah, that's.
So it's going to be Sivir Leona at bot lane. As we said before, the Black Shield is going to go a long way to negating any of the problems that Leona would normally throw at a Jinx. But you look at the other lanes, Lulu mid for Ocelot, Kha'Zix top for JWoww. Again, Sheepy must be face palming like, which one do I focus down? There's so many problems to face off against as a jungler.
And now, the mid laner is the final pickup here for Unicorns of Love. Kayle would be a good pick to reduce a lot of the potency that Kha'Zix has. And is okay in lane against Lulu. I mean, both are fairly consistent. They just happily farm. Lulu does have a surprising amount of damage, so Kayle is going to be able to survive through that. Likewise, Lulu is going to be able to shield herself. Kayle does get locked in. And that means our lineups are finalized, and very different lineups to what we usually see. I think Gamers 2 is very consistent with what they play.
Yeah.
But Unicorns of Love with a Jax pick, Morgana support, bit different.
Got to give him props. But Kayle is a very good pick against Kha'Zix.
Yeah.
Because you basically alleviate the pressure of an assassination. Kha'Zix jumps in, you're just like, cool, intervention.
Yep.
Deal with it. Whereas the same can be said on the flip side. Lulu's very good against assassination as well because of wild growth. So if, for example, you all dogpile on top of Sivir, or potentially if Kha'Zix jumps in and then you wild growth, you get this knock-up effect.
Yeah.
And then you can just try and mop up from there. So both teams, I've got to say, going into this game, I really like the compositions. I think these are going to be fireworks.
I think another thing to keep in mind is that Jax is a champion that we mentioned it earlier, scales incredibly well into the game. It's going to be another battle in top lane.
Yeah.
There's going to be so much on this top lane. Can Kha'Zix get the early kills, which we expect out of JWoww? And if he can, that means Kha'Zix can really start shutting people down. And if he doesn't, Jax is going to catch him back up very quickly if he can pick up 1 or 2 kills.
Yeah, we said this it was a viewer game, I should say, but if Jax can get to that late stage of the game, he is just going to decimate people, like absolutely decimate them, but it's going to be a brawl at top.
One of the other things is Lulu kind of falls off in potency in that late game. I mean, she'll have the shield, but by that point, Jax is outputting so much damage that a shield won't keep you alive for very long.
That's very much the case.
Again, it's a case of scaling. It really highly depends on JWoww here. And that seems to be the way that gamers too like to play. Is JWoww's a very highly thought of top laner.
It's the same when he was in teams like TCM as well.
Yeah.
So much emphasis was put on everyone get on JWoww's back, and he was going to carry us to victory. Just support him. Like it's almost like the protect the double lift comp type thing, but with JWoww on crazy damage top laners. And he is that damn good that he can, if he's given the opportunity, just crush through teams. Kha'Zix is a perfect champion for that mentality. Could not pick a better one.
And especially when he's given the opportunity to play it.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about how picking damage top laners into tank top laners is a difficult task. This time, however, it's damage into damage, and Jax doesn't start off particularly good at all. So he's kind of given a little bit of an easier early game than he's normally used to.
And when you have a Lee Sin on your team who is known for his early game dominance from jungle, they could look to snowball that top lane while Jax is still weak.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And we are only a minute left in our delay period. So I think it's a good time to bring up our friends at FACEIT.
And Overwolf.
Of course,
As you can
Overwolf
see.
powering up the tournament here for the FACEIT Challenger Invitational number 2. FACEIT is, I mean, if you weren't here on FACEIT Challenger Invitational number 1, where were you? Or where were you earlier when we said this earlier? But nevertheless, FACEIT is a platform where you can win prizes for playing against people at the same skill level. So, if you're like Vince here and playing bronze, then...
Okay.
You can play against other bronze people. The funny thing is, I think he's actually ranked higher than me currently.
I am. I'm diamond.
I know.
And you're gold or platinum or something.
Wow, calling me on gold. I have placements placed incorrectly.
I joke-queued with you on my Smurf.
I know you did. We won
Good
after
guy.
losing that Cho'Gath game. Sorry. But yeah, if you want to play against people of your own skill level with League of Legends, Counter-Strike, or Quake, you can do so and win some pretty awesome prizes at the same time.
And as you mentioned previously, it has just gone into EU Nordic and East.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was just EU West. So if you are a member of the Eastern regions, I should say, of Europe, then you can get yourself involved that way. The way it works is once you've made your account, once you've linked your League of Legends account, it does all the micromanagement for you. So you don't have to deal with the rigmarole of going through everything and getting stressed and frustrated with it.
Yeah, and then you win games, win points, exchange for prizes, and if you get 5 million, then you hit the exchange button and then a car turns up at your house.
If you get 5 million, you deserve the car, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So,
do I not deserve the car?
you do deserve the car.
Only if I get 5 million.
And the FACEIT alarm clock.
Yeah, although I don't think that's 5 million.
Yeah, alarm clock worth the same as a car seems legit. Hey, it could actually save you from getting disqualified out of tournaments. Just saying.
Which, the car or the alarm clock?
Alarm clock.
Okay.
I can't see how a car would. I was trying to think of something to say, but my mind went blank. It's not the first time. And it won't be the last.
We are into game, though, as we are ready for game number 2 here between Gamers 2 and Unicorns of Love. It's a best of 3 with a 1-0 lead currently for Gamers 2.
Yeah, and the fact they're called Gamers 2 makes it seem so awkward when we say it's game 2 between Gamers 2 and Unicorns of Love. But that's exactly the situation that we're currently in. And if you did just join us and you missed the first game, Gamers 2 took it very convincingly in the end. It was pretty much first blood into a 30-minute win. And it was very, very easy in the end for them.
It was. Now, the funny one I said the other day was Gamers 2s and Gamers 2-2. It's pretty difficult thing to say, but we might actually see some aggression to begin this game. The look Vince just gave me was could kill a man. But speaking of killing, they're looking for Sivir down in this golem area, and now it's a good job Sivir wasn't sitting in that tribush like you see sometimes some people do. She'll spot this out fairly early on and stay alive. I have a feeling that was seen, so they are going to back away.
They are. And as you say, it's quite a common thing to see an AD carry or support, because obviously they'd normally be going bot lane, to just sit in that tri-bush. But it's very smart play, actually, from Yuki to say, okay, they have a Morgana. If Morgana just blind fires in a binding and it catches me, I'm dead.
Yeah.
So I'm just not going to bother with any of that.
Now, we've seen a little bit of a different start in this game. Leona has taken the Relic Shield, which, it was seen before.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. You typically, now I guess as casters, this just reminds us that there will be a CS disparity between Jinx and Sivir.
Yeah.
But it will be an illusion, as there actually will be considerably closer gold.
That's the problem I have in solo queue. Whenever I have someone with that item, it's normally Leona, more often than not. I get emo because I'm like, my CSing sucks this game, and then I have to remember that my Leona's got like 40 CS, and I'm actually ahead of gold on my counterpart.
I have one that's worse than that. Whenever it's binding lands in the bottom lane, there's the engage actually.
Going on, Daoud lands it onto Morgana. Vardags, who just came in for the replacement, takes a bit of damage as well, but it's actually doing pretty good against JWoww.
Yeah, managed to output some damage there. And down in that bottom lane, Black Shield wasn't available, so that's why there was a fair amount of back and forth trading there. And yeah, I was going to say, binding can land. I'm going to drop that point.
Yeah, but Daoud went in too aggressive. It was effectively 1v2. JWoww has been caught from Versace here. Ignite goes down, but I don't think it's going to be enough damage as he's chugging through that health potion as well. Now the engage comes onto Morgana, who uses that Black Shield to try and mitigate some damage, but unable to do so. So fireworks from almost minute 1.
And a Doran's Ring start on Morgana is not the equivalent of the old Doran Shield start. It won't give her the extra survivability from the block damage and also the regen that'll be there from the Doran Shield that you'd expect. So she's taking a fair amount of damage already in that lane.
Very, very true. So maybe some of the alarm bells beginning to ring here.
Not for NIP.
I see what you did there. Or maybe they were. He's just a really deep sleeper.
Maybe.
Happens to some people, I guess.
I'll drop it soon enough.
No, I liked it. It was good. It took me a second or two to get the joke, but that's just because I'm slow. It's nothing to do with the quality of the joke. But regardless, some alarm bells may be beginning to ring for the side here of Unicorns of Love, because they are being pushed back heavily at bot lane, although Jax had a pretty nice start at top.
And you can see, wow, there's actually a CS disparity in the direction that we wouldn't have been expecting it. There's in the bottom lane, 21 CS to 11 already, and take into account that's another 4 onto Leona with that Relic Shield. They're quite a way ahead already in this game.
That's very true. Top lane, though. Will patience be a virtue for Sheepy, who comes in, does manage to get JWoww after the leap has been popped. The flash is down from that previous tip for tap that we saw at top, but Wukong will be picking up the first blood for Unicorns of Love, starting out very well in this game.
JWoww playing very aggressive in that lane. You can see had a CS lead from when Jax went back, but Morden may be in trouble here as well.
Yep, he has taken a lot of damage, but he still has his flash, so he would have been okay. I think the idea maybe behind Unicorns of Love was to try and burn that flash.
And JWoww has actually been forced into picking up a flask on Kha'Zix just to try and survive in between these fights, get the regen back up, and really just try and pick and choose his fights a little bit better. And it's difficult for him right now because the jungle pressure already out of Master Sheepy is kind of going to allow Jax to start getting into this game earlier than he would like to.
Yeah. We're just going to have to see how things unfold at the top lane. In mid right now, it's pretty much even with Lulu going back and rejoining the lane, and Kale has also done the same. Double Doran's rings against the Chalice of Harmony and Doran's rings. So nothing really to write home about. Top lane though, Wukong may be tempted to go for another gank there.
Yeah, if they do manage to land the knockup, JWoww still doesn't have flash. Only about half of the cooldown remains, down to about a third actually, is keeping track of those cooldowns. But Visit Chachi is going to back away from this one. Looked like they were looking to go aggressive. No, they weren't. Not in the bottom lane. That was the wrong way. Yeah, you see a Zenith Blade and you're thinking, what? Nope, not an engage.
It's the same with Yasuo, like you say, when he fires out the whirlwind, you're like, and then nothing happens. And you're kind of let down a tiny bit. That's how I feel with Zenith Blade. But that's kind of, after that momentary display of fireworks, it's gone to kind of slower period, although Drake has been started here from Gamers 2, and I would imagine it to be finished as well, with Wukong actually being at top lane. And that's an interesting position for him to be in, because Kha'Zix is nowhere near.
Yeah, this is something we saw out of the previous game with Gamers 2, is they have good dragon control. They are pushing their waves, using and utilizing the backing of Unicorns of Love to their advantage to get these dragons, when it's not that they don't deserve to get them, because it's very smart play, but it's stuff that Unicorns could be avoiding.
Yeah.
It is by no means the case that they should be able to get those dragons so early. It's good setup from Gamers 2 and good using of the backing.
To coin a tennis term, it's almost like unforced errors.
Yeah.
Whereby Wukong just in the wrong position at the wrong time, and fair play to Gamers 2. They noticed that lapse in concentration. They're like, okay, free objective, why not?
Unforced errors. Yes, that is a term that I like. We will be bringing some traditional sports terminology in.
It's good I watch tennis. I don't particularly like the sport, but I got that one thing from it.
They use it in rugby as well.
Unforced
errors. So when you knock on or something like that. So yeah, we can use that. I like that term.
Let's do it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. What else have we said? The things you know. Or the more you know.
The more you know.
Either way, though, in this game, we do have Jinx and Morgana definitely behind it. As we said before, we'd have expected Sivir to be slightly behind on CS, but that's definitely not the case. 11. Plus, of course, those last hits from Leona are going to be paying out dividends for her in the bot lane. Has a BF sword compared to Jinx's Vampiric Scepter. That's a big difference in just raw damage output. Yeah,
that's going to give him such a good ability to trade. Not only that, Sivir doesn't always need to trade, because if you're watching the scoreboard there, you saw how her CS just ticked up very, very quickly. That BF sword's going to give her incredible wave clear on the Ricochet and Boomerang Blade as well. And I mean, she really doesn't even need to fight Jinx right now. As long as she dodges the bindings, they can just shove, get themselves the lead, and when they want to go aggressive, they're looking for the Solar Flare is really when they can afford to, but Vardax still has Flash available. Once they can get that Flash down, which they'll look to get now as Dude is kind of positioning, you can see him very, very aggressive in his positioning, trying to get that escape away. As soon as they do that, then they can go for a second engage in about 32 seconds to a minute's time.
Diode is playing this perfectly right now, a bot lane. You can see he's playing super ballsy, but it's because they respect how tanky he is and what he's going to put out in terms of CC. And they don't want to fight. They straight up do not want to fight against Sivir with a BF sword at this stage of the game. It would be suicide. So Diode is really taking that information and running home with it. He's like psychologically outplaying the opposition bot lane.
It's support 101 on Leona for sure, and it's something that you see a lot of supports not do, is pressure every moment that they can, and that's what Dude has been doing. He can't really do it now because he's too close to the turret. There's no way Leona can really do that without committing, but they know the limitations of a Jinx, and as this wave pushes in, you can see even warding that Tribush. That's a very, very important ward. It denies Wukong's ability to, get into that lane. And just such good play here, Attitude.
It really is. It stops Wukong from decoying in and suddenly appearing out of nowhere with the Cyclone and just turning that fight in their favor. So I really like that forward. But we have reached that stage now where, well, actually hold that thought, because J1 and Vivisachi are going really ham on one another at the top lane. Leap comes in. Both flashes, both ignites have been popped. And both ultimates as well, so through the kitchen sink at one another, and neither of them fell. Yeah,
they're going to go their separate ways here, although it looks like Vizicachi feels he has the ability to farm that wave out before heading back. And you saw that back and forth in the top lane. And, I mean, JWoww wouldn't like it to be that close right now, but Jax picked up that assist early on, has been doing fairly well in that lane, and you have to think that Jax, the longer this game goes on, is going to get better and better. Kha'Zix, the longer this game goes out without kills, won't.
Yeah, very much the case. This is what I was talking about before, though, with the Black Shield turning around. Fights that look really good for gamers too, but the owner is very, very tanky at this stage, and is not taking as much damage as I feel Vardags and also his support of Halcyon were thinking. They thought they could probably dish out quite a lot more.
There's a big disparity in that bottom lane on CS now, and it's growing every second. Master Sheepy takes a bit of damage in the middle lane, but Clone took most of it. 30 CS difference at 11 minutes, and then you take into account the Relic Shield.
Yeah.
That's massive, massive disparity for this early on.
Yeah, it really is. And again, you can see that in the items that have been already picked up. Binding comes through, is going to find a minion, however. And Sivir is probably going to pick up a Bloodthirster when she goes back, and that's when it's going to get really scary.
Trading in the top lane, Vizicachi uses the counter-strike. Yep, not quite able to do too much there.
Oh, but that's going to be JWoww jumping back in again, feeling like he could have picked up that kill. Sheepy round from the backside, however, it's not looking good for JWoww. It does a lot of damage, though, before falling down. And, well, it's just kind of unfortunate for him that Sheepy was at the top lane.
We're seeing a lot of tendencies from Master Sheepy to visit that top lane, which is kind of, to me, almost reminiscent of the playstyle of Season 3. And, end of Season 2, beginning of Season 3, which I think in these damaged top laners is actually fairly favorable, that you get your top laner fed. And it's something that we're seeing now. They picked up 2 kills from the top lane, and it's not something we've seen recently because of the way that bottom lane has had the prevalence. Dragon is coming up in 6 seconds. You can already see Gamers 2 preparing for this.
Yeah. And that's like you said before, they just have sublime Dragon control.
Yeah,
in both these games.
I mean, Sivir shoved bottom wave. It's now at the turret. Ocelot cleared out the wave, so at least reset mid and is now in a position to roam should he need to. And Lee Sin knew it was coming up, already made a beeline for it.
And again, look at Wukong. He was doing his wolves.
Yep.
So it's one of those kind of situations where that could also be kind of a fallout from the previous Dragon. They didn't have the perfect timing on it, so therefore maybe Wukong thought it was a bit later, but still, They didn't even contest that dragon.
Yeah, it's one of those things that until the icon appears, if you don't have the exact timer, by which point against a team like Gamers2 is too late to know. If you don't know until the icon appears again, then you're never going to get in position without having warded it first. And no wards out around that area for Unicorns of Love either.
I guess the silver lining, though, is that Wukong probably knows when the next dragon's coming up.
Yeah.
So should be ready to be there in the right place at the right time. They can't afford to lose 3 in a row, though, because that is going to start escalating pretty heavily in Gamers2's favor. Because as you can see right now, even though they're 2-0 up with that first blood, they still find themselves 600 gold behind.
Yeah, and that's down to that global gold. As you said, it's actually somewhat surprising that there have only been 2 kills in this game for a game that has been so easily controlled for Gamers2. They haven't broke a sweat to get that dragon control.
Very, very true. Got to give mad props here, actually, to Versace, because we said before on the Champions Select, JWoww is renowned for his amazing Kha'Zix play. Hold the thought for a second, because there's going to be an engager bot lane. Yuki and Daoud waiting for that Dark Shield to come out there, and then they're going to pick up the kill onto Vardags, now changing their focus onto Morgana, who should be okay, as the Zenith Blade narrowly misses.
Yeah, that Dark Binding not quite able to... the Soul Shackle not quite able to lock the both of them down there either, and it's just a case that that's another kill, well, another thing added to the disparity in that bottom lane, and I don't know how they're going to come back into this one. Sightstone now picked up on Leona, has been for a minute or two, and they've already pushing down this tower. That will be the first tower of the turret going down for Gamers2, and they finally got themselves a little bit more of a gold lead.
Yep, so currently 3 objectives to 0 in favor of Gamers2. And I don't think any of these towers are low on the side of Gamers2 either. I think they're all, by and large, full HP.
Yeah, I have a feeling that they are. I haven't seen too much pushing coming out of Unicorns of Love either.
Yeah, so the objective gold is not going to be equated anytime soon here from Unicorns of Love.
Ooh, interesting. Unicorns are going to do a lane swap. They're sending 4 men to the top lane.
Wow. I think that's purely on the basis that Jax is starting to get out of control.
And they know Master of Sheepy is starting to favor the top side of the map as well. So if they can shove this tower down, it gives them a lot of control.
Yeah, they are looking to go on to Vivasachi. Here comes Sheepy from the side, though. Beautiful Cyclone is going to be knocking up all those players down. Buys Vivasachi enough time to escape. Is he going to get away with his life, though? No, he will not, as Wukong will be falling 1 for 1. But that could have gone a hell of a lot worse, actually, for Unicorns of Love.
It could have. However, they've committed to losing that bottom lane tower. It's a question of how much can they get in the top lane now, as they've got very, very good wave clear. Ocelot actually looked to roam down towards that bottom tower to keep it alive, but they wouldn't have been there in time. And in fact, the turrets trade at the same time, and the pushing power is considerably better here for Gamers2.
Yeah, especially with Sivir and the Ricochet, because you do get attack speed bonuses with the ultimate. So it's going to be cutting through that tower very, very quickly, down to about half of its hit points remaining, as Vivi does get a Q in his face from Lee Sin. But still, at the end of the day here, Stress, you got to say, it's a very good play, actually, from Gamers2 to stack top.
Yeah, and it's not an orthodox play either. That is not something that normally happens. You don't go, okay, we took bottom tower, let's give you our tower, here's the chase.
Yeah, on to Sheepy. He's going to find himself between a rock and a hard place and 3 enemy players, but that Black Shield was beautiful. Going to keep him alive just long enough to get killed by Morden, however. And the ultimate out from Halsang, not quite enough to lock down any players. Reckoning goes in from Kale. Long-range Reckoning does finally secure that kill.
And that's a jungler for a support. And once again, that Master Sheepy's just getting shut down, whether it's by dying or just not being in quite the right place. He hasn't been able to find his feet in this game yet. And yes, he's got 2 kills, but again, those kills were predominantly in the top lane, which has helped Jax out. Yes, they will get a tower from this, evening up the tower numbers, but they are still 1.2k down.
Yeah, indeed. Dragon is up in just over a minute, so it's going to be interesting to see if Unicorns of Love try and stop an end to the tyrannical reign so far of Morden on the Drake pit. I wonder if Wukong is going to be in prime position this time around. With the 2 towers down at mid and bottom, that does give them a slightly more even playing field than previously.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it makes it a little bit more difficult for Gamers 2 to actually secure the dragon. There's the kick back into the tower.
Yeah, Dragon's Rage into JWoww. JWoww desperately needed that kill, but actually Diode takes it down. They need to start getting kills on Kha'Zix, or things are going to get ugly.
He has just picked up the last Whisper. That's where that damage came from, a big spike there in JWoww's power. So, as you said, a little bit of a... I don't want to say a mistake to give that to Leona because they got the kill, but again, it's not as favorable as it would be to get it onto JWoww.
I think it was the Solar Flare that took the kill, trying to make sure he wasn't able to escape from that situation. So it's just kind of one of those unfortunate things that happens from time to time. Dragon's up in 8 seconds, but is it that Unicorns of Love are more occupied on Baron Pit?
I wonder, actually, that kill may help Leona out a significant amount. Look at the CS, 27 CS on Leona, which is considerably more gold than you'd expect on any other support. Take into account that, of course, that did go over with the Relic Shield. The kill as well has allowed a Giant's Belt, which could make it incredibly tanky for this fight coming up now.
Very true. Leona is a front-line kind of support that wants to get into the action right in there, so it could definitely keep her alive for a bit longer. This time around, Sheepy was on the case to stop Dragon going down that Morden did start previously, so in that case it was a success. But Drake is still alive, so it's a question of who lands that first skill shot. Maybe a Dark Binding can work its way into a potential pick and then a Drake afterwards, but on the flip side, if Leona sees even half a chance, I think Dude is going to go straight in.
But this is good contest here out of Unicorns. They're not letting Gamers 2 just have the Dragon, and we didn't even see this in game number 1. We didn't see them contesting as a unit of 5.
Well, can they change things around this time? Just 1.7k behind. It's not a huge amount. That's going to be Lee Sin picking up the Drake. Here comes the fight afterwards. Intervention used on Vivisachi. Forced to jump away from that one. As Sheepy will be falling down. Zodiaz in the fray. There's the rocket in from Jinx. Unable to pick anyone up. This is a beautiful fight coming in from Gamers 2. 2 for 0 trade plus the Dragon.
The Super Mega Death Rocket just didn't have a lot of damage there, and it's a product of the fact that it's a Bloodthirster onto Jinx only at this point when you take into account the disparity in that bottom lane. Mid tower goes down in favor of Gamers 2, and they got a very important kill onto Kha'Zix in the middle of that fight as well. That's a second tower going down in that middle lane. You can see the wave clear out of Sivir is so strong here and very difficult to contend with. That's a lot of gold just came over to Gamers 2.
So 3rd consecutive Dragon for Gamers 2. And apparently we're going to jump into a replay of that previous team fight.
Although Yuki might be in a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, Yuki should be falling down. In fact, won't be falling down just yet.
Oh, he aggroed the Baron.
It did aggro the Baron. Is it going to be enough damage? No, it will not. So Diode and JWoww do manage to back away, and I think we're going to be jumping into that replay.
Yeah, we'll just take a look at that Dragon fight as Lee Sin was able to secure it. There's the Solar Flare going off right as the Dragon goes down. You can see Morden actually kicking Master Sheepy back into the fight. Cyclone didn't find the targets that it needed to, and JWoww is just left to his devices here. There's not a lot of damage out from the rocket, and from there, it's just all out of, all abandoned ship at that point for Unicorns of Love.
Get the hell out. There's no reason for them to still be there. But for me, the scary thing was that rocket did nothing.
Yeah, and you used to seeing that hit and deal so much damage because it hit 4 people.
Yeah.
That was a good rocket. There was just nothing to it.
Couldn't have fired it any better. It's just simply doesn't have the items to back it up because of how dominant Sivir was in laning phase, forcing Jinx back to the tower consistently. And you can see there, Sivir is a static Shiv and pickaxe ahead of Jinx.
That's actually a crazy amount of damage. Although Dude now, look at how tanky Dude is. He's actually just going to stand there.
It's like mosquitoes attacking him from Jinx. It's doing nothing. They finally picked that kill up. But how many auto attacks was that? Like 15?
Yeah, and strangely enough, JWoww actually just walked past that engagement and kind of just was like, oh, yeah, okay, you're caught.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah, it's a void assault. Off I go. But no, that's a tanky Leona. That's Ruby Sight Stone, Giant's Belt, Relic Shield, and that'll be built into a Face of the Mountain as this goes on. But you have to wonder, although Leona doesn't have significant damage, just being a tank with that crowd control is going to be difficult to deal with for Unicorns of Love.
And as you say, maybe that kill onto Vivasachi at the top lane was very, very important for Leona to make the big plays, to be that tanky brute force in the front. As you can just hear the sound effects of Morgana. Kind of caught me off guard for a second there.
I hate that recall.
I thought I was being haunted.
It's so scary.
Yeah.
The first time I heard that, I was like, thank God it didn't finish the animation on stream as well, because, it's that shriek.
It's interesting as well that we've not really mentioned Lulu and Kale this game, but it's because it's been a non-event in mid. It's been a farm fest.
Yeah, and that's really just one of those situations that, again, it's kind of similar to the Orianna style of playing mid, where you're very support focused rather than damage. Yes, you have damage, and don't get me wrong, both Lulu and Kale can output crazy amounts of damage, but without the focus in the middle lane from the junglers and that action in a lane that wants to trade and players that in this situation both have wanted to play very passive in lane, there has been no action to talk about in middle lane, so both have just farmed up, and you can see they're considerably far ahead of the rest of the members on their teams. Just because they've not had to do a lot, they've been very, very happy to sit there and wait for these team fights where they'll start coming into their own.
So Crucible has also been picked up by Morgana, which is going to keep Jinx alive a bit longer. It's a very good item with Jinx because she lacks the maneuverability, lacks the escape, and Crucible is effectively a cleanse plus heal. So it's a very, very good item to pick up on with a Jinx. But my worry is, does Jinx have the damage to hang with Sivir right now?
She's finished the static shift. It's Last Whisper that she's looking for that extra damage spike that actually becomes quite potent. I mean, the gap on CS is closed as well. That's something to look at as a very positive thing for Unicorns of Love, is they've started to get that disparity back. But Gamers too, looking towards the Baron, they've got fairly good Baron focus from having Kha'Zix being able to have that isolated damage as well. And Unicorns of Love just not aware. And again, Gamers 2 are very good at setting up the map for how they want it. Look at that top side of the map vision that they have. There's only maybe 1-2 wards out for Unicorns of Love on the top side here, and that just means that Gamers 2 were very easily able to do Baron.
And this is a problem that they also had in the first game as well, where they didn't have great ward coverage across the map. They only really had ward coverage in their own jungle.
Yeah.
And that allowed Gamers 2 to just go wherever they so pleased. Sheepy's been caught. He should be going down right now. There you go. And the On The Hunt is popped just for good measure. The Heil Zhang is trying his best to get out of there, but the damage has already been done. They've lost their big initiation of Wukong.
And that'll be another tower going down to Gamers 2, and will they continue this push? They've got another 18 seconds before Wukong is available and have considerable pushing power as well with Sivir. They're going to need another minion wave. They're not quite strong enough to tank this up, and even then it's a big ask to get through the entire health pool of a turret.
Well, it's go big or go home time right now for Unicorns of Love. They can't afford to lose this game or they're out the tournament. It's that simple. So if there's ever a time to make a big play, it's right here, right now for them. They are staring defeat down the barrel of the gun. Their Hib Tower's taking a pounding at top. And they don't really have a great deal they can do about this with the Baron up Gamers 2, who have a very big Lee Sin, very big Sivir. Kha'Zix, who had a quite an iffy early game, to say the least, has managed to pick up some items, like you said, like Last Whisper. So he's starting to chunk as well.
So difficult to deal with Gamers 2 right now, and you think that as soon as they get damage on one person that they should pick up the kill, but Lulu will allow the team to survive, but Morden has been caught.
This could be the big play they were looking for. Flash Cyclone from Sheepy knocks both Morden and Diode up into the air, but Helsing doesn't land that Dark Binding, and Vivint's actually on the meanwhile, trying to push away Yuki, takes loads more damage than I think he was expecting, and that just marks the end of that engage. There were summoners, they were ult popped in the process, they didn't even pick up one kill.
And that was 5v4.
Yeah.
They got nothing from that, and that was 5v4. The Dragon is available, so Unicorns are going to rotate down towards this. I think this would be a very smart play here. They can do this before it ends up being contested. And that's a sign here that Unicorns are still switched on in this game.
They haven't pushed that self-destruct button yet. A lot of teams will do that when they're way behind. They'll kind of go emo mode, and they'll just start losing concentration. So that is a good sign right now for Unicorns of Love, but I still have to fear how far behind they are in a number of different ways, where Sivir hasn't gone back for a while, actually, so I have to think that could even be an Infinity Edge picked up when she does.
They're very close also to another key point in this game, and that is Jax with a Blade of the Ruined King and Trinity Force. Once that blade is finished, Jax will be able to stick onto any target and duel them, and that's where you want your Jax to be. It means you can send him out into one lane, he can split push, provided you keep tabs on the rest of the members of Gamers 2, he can duel anyone.
And the reason I said Infinity Edge, even though Sivir did not have a Last Whisper at the time, is if you have a look at the side of Unicorns of Love, they don't really have that much armor.
Yeah.
Like, Jax is going damage, Wukong's going damage as well, and a bit of tanky stuff thrown in there. But they don't have a great deal of armor, so the Infinity Edge is going to chunk a lot harder than Last Whisper at this stage of the game.
There's the wave clear coming out from Gamers 2. They will take down another tower. The outer rings of towers are just considerably easier to push down than the inhibitor ones, so why go for an inhibitor when there's free towers available on the rest of the map? And that's the thinking and thought process there for Gamers 2. And you're going to rotate around, and their Baron buff is going to wear off fairly shortly. There it actually goes as I'm saying that. And I don't want to say they wasted Baron. They just didn't make as big an impact with it as they would have liked to. They were going fairly quickly, accelerating this game, and they've started to be stalled out a little bit by Unicorns of Love. And now Jax is at that point, has 2 finished items, and now they've got to be careful that he doesn't start turning on the split push.
It's kind of like a meh Baron. They picked up 2 towers, but they didn't manage to get an inhib. They didn't manage to get an inhib tower. I don't think they got any kills after Baron, unless I'm mistaken, maybe 1. So it's not as if they really lit this match on fire, but again, you could make the argument, well, they don't need to. Yeah. They're doing their job already. They're already pushed all the outer towers down. They are already stronger, so maybe trying to make the big play would be a mistake, because it could end up backfiring.
Of course, they got the gold from it. That's always a nice thing.
Yeah.
But you would have liked to have used the buff a little bit more effectively. You can see Jack's not actually confident enough to push the tower in that top lane, and it's to do with the fact that they haven't got the ward control that they need. They haven't got the eyes on Gamers 2 to really secure a safe path on split pushing, and that's what Jax needs.
That's very much the case. And when Jax isn't able to split push, that's when the alarm bells begin to ring for him, because that's one of his main strengths. He is the master at dueling. He is the kind of guy you want to be able to split push, while the rest of your team kind of creates a diversion as Sheepy gets caught atop, but should be okay.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, he should be able to duel anybody. He has been behind in this game, so that may be affected, but here he actually comes into the top lane, doesn't quite land the stun. The retreat pings have gone down.
Halzang has been caught there. And here comes Mordant. Sonic Wave Resonating Strike combo. Nice start binding onto Ocelot. Will just keep him at bay. But again, they're just kind of buying themselves a bit of time. They're not pressuring any objectives here, Unicorns of Love. They're constantly on the back foot.
You can see they don't want to fight either. They had the position. Sivir wasn't there for Gamers 2, but just couldn't get the stuns they needed to begin the fight. They've got to be careful they don't get caught out by a solar flare here. It is surprisingly long range and just 1 out of Dude. And Dude is incredibly tanky still. 1 solar flare could really cost Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, that's a very good point. There's that dot binding, lands on Mordant. Again, though, this is fine for Gamers 2. They're okay with this, because Unicorns of Love, their minions aren't really pushing, and they're not getting any objectives. So all of the vision war is going to be going to Gamers 2's hands, because they're going to pull back from these towers, plant down their pings, clear up the walls, and be fine.
Yeah, Baron up just about now, will be coming up, and we'll see whether Gamers 2 can use that Baron should they choose to go for it. They do have the position. They're setting up for a pick.
Oh, such smart play, and Zodes is not even able to pop his ultimate on himself. So Zodiaz will go down straight away, and that's pretty much going to spell the end of Baron's life this time around.
Yeah, however, Vizicachi is going to be pushing down in the bottom lane. It's kind of a race, but I don't think Jax is actually going to end up winning this one. I don't think he'll get significant damage done before that Baron is picked up, and one member will head back to wave clear away from him.
And he also second-guessed himself there, Stress. He started to recall
Yeah.
and then decided to push again. So he actually lost a bit of the momentum that he could have been pushing even harder with. But as you say, he wouldn't have been able to do anything with that.
The problem is, now that he hasn't recalled, now he's recalling, and he's too late.
Yeah.
He's not going to get there in time. He hasn't got a home guard on his boots, so this could be another big engage should they choose to go for it.
Yep, it is effectively a 4 versus 5 with the Baron buff. JWoww's damage is massive. Just smashes through Morgana's black shield. And they will pick up that inhibitor tower and the inhibitor afterwards. And I don't think there's a great deal that Unicorns of Love can do about this.
Now, indecisiveness there meant they didn't have 2 members. I'm pretty sure it was Jinx and Jax weren't back in time to be able to deal with that little push there from Gamers 2. And to be honest, that was a small push. That was not a big all-in commitment. They didn't dive too many towers. They just picked off 1 member and took down a turret.
Yeah, exactly. They targeted what they wanted, they picked it up, and they backed away with ease. Didn't lose anybody. Don't think they even burnt more than the flash there. In fact, 2 flashes were used from Gamers 2 in that exchange, but they're going to be completely happy with that situation. And as you can see now, Super Minions are going to be pushing through the top lane. Dragon is live, and Warden should be securing that very shortly.
He will indeed. I think that marks 3 for Gamers 2. 4, actually. We have a very nice Dragon and Baron indicator on our screen.
We do, which I've just noticed.
I forgot we actually had that.
Go figure.
But, yeah, 4 and 2 on the Dragons and Barons scored for Gamers 2. So that's a lot of gold they've had from those global objectives. And Leona's actually nearly at 50 CS with that Relic Shield. That's a lot of gold.
Just in every way right now, Gamers 2 are head and shoulders above their counterparts, even in the support department. So it's not looking too good. But we have reached that stage of the game here, Stress, where as a caster, there's not much you can really talk about. Because Gamers 2, they have it in their mind what they want to do, and it's just a case of them slowly executing that plan.
Yeah, it's all down to execution at this point, and it's whether Gamers 2 can cleanly take out more turrets. And again, the problem with a split pusher like Jax is it's not like Shen where you can split push and teleport back for a fight. You have to manually recall, walk back to the fight, get in the fight, try and deal damage.
Yeah. Well, looks like they're going to try and wait for the Super Minions to push top and then try and make a play at bot lane, which has already been pretty much devastatingly smashed down from Gamers 2. They will be picking that second inhibitor tower up. Are they going to take the inhibitor afterwards? Very likely. Solarflare has came down there on top of Ivisachi. Here comes a Cyclone in retaliation from Sheep. He lands on pretty much everybody, but it's nowhere near enough damage. There was no follow-up damage even from the rest of his team, so he basically went and bited the bullet for his team. And now, actually, that's probably going to be the 3rd inhib going down.
Yeah, it will be. They're going to take down the turret at least. Will they look to push on to the inhib? I have to think that they will, unless they get caught out. They're going to go aggressive.
Yeah, JWoww goes in, does pick up that kill onto Jinx. He's going to get the resets right now. Kale's really taken down. That's looking like a double kill, very nearly a triple kill, but Lulu went in to pick up the second double of this fight, and that's pretty much all she wrote for this game as the surrender comes in, and the winners of this quarterfinal matchup are going to be Gamers 2 as they knock out Unicorns of Love 2-0 in the end.
They will be victorious, and very consistent with what we saw out of Gamers 2 yesterday in the Challenger League hosted by Riot, where Gamers 2 looking very convincing right now. They have a strong lineup with their new sponsor, looking very good.
They are definitely looking good, and I realized in that fight as well, I said bited.
I didn't want to say that.
N1 Inglando, Vince. I'm English, by the way. It's my native language.
This is what happens when you move away. You just England. What?
When you move to Finland, you just lose the ability to speak English. But Gamers 2, both of those games were surgical, almost in the precision.
I think the experience shows there. Unicorns of Love have had some success, but I don't know how much they've been playing on the competitive scene since the FACEIT Invitational they were previously in. So, they showed flashes of what brought them to the dance last time with their 2-0 over Cloud9 Europe. But Gamers 2 currently are looking on top form.
They are. And I think they're going to be one of the teams that may go the distance, honestly, off that performance, because they didn't look like their slouches. They didn't make any big mistakes. They didn't throw the game. They were just very slow and steady.
Yeah, and it just played the game the way they wanted it, had everything go their way, and that will be a 2-0 there. So I believe we have our next game scheduled for a little bit's time. I'm not sure on the exact time of that, but we're going to go for a short break as we get the teams ready for our third best of 3. It's like the second one, but it should be the third one. Our next series for the day. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes with our third best of 3 for the FACEIT Challenger Invitational.